Welcome back. Just a little bit more tidying up. Okay. Sorry about the delay. Let's start straight away. Standing up, please. I haven't got loads of light in here. I hope you can see me okay. I didn't have time to set up the full lighting, but maybe I can do a little switcheroo. We're standing up in the middle of our mat, or Tadasana, which of course is the mountain pose. We're going to have the feet together or apart. Let's see if I can make the light a little bit brighter. Look at that. It's all very tech tonight. Right, here we go. Feet together. Arms by your sides. Toes spread. Breath releasing. Notice tendencies to drop left or drop right. And allow them, we really minimize pressure on ourselves to conform to this or that, and instead to allow, because of course action in yoga is response. So it's the clarity of what we receive, therefore conditions the clarity of our response. So really opening up to the receptive, and then out of the receptive comes the response, rather than the response being a preconceived idea that we project on. So opening up, shoulders down, head up, toes spread, breathing nasal, jaw soft. Raise your arms when you're ready. Light tone in the tum. Suck in the tummy from the front, the sides, and the back. Feel a little like a reminder at the pelvic floor, a nudge, you could say, a sort of, stay that in that direction kind of reminder, which is telling the energy to stay in the central channel. So as you breathe easy, roots of the neck soft, moving investigatively, feeling that little reminding nudge from the pelvic floor. Bend ankles, knees, and hips, and reach down for Utkatta. So reaching down for the floor, breathing through your nose if you can. Fingers on the floor, maybe even the flats of the hands on the floor. And you can either step your feet apart or jump them if you're feeling excitable. Keep the jaw soft, spread the toes, breathe through your nose if you can. If you need to, of course, you can take a block and put that underneath your hands. And the criteria for needing to is whether or not there's a sense of spacious flow along the central channel, which is anterior to the spine. And that spacious flow, if it's real, is mirrored everywhere. It's mirrored in the breath, is mirrored in the mind, is mirrored in the body. Take one hand cupped or on a block or both or straight on the floor in the middle of the two, in the middle of the pose, in the middle of the feet, 2 feet, and push and turn. Breathe without holding your breath, if you can. Relax your toes, especially the little toes. And I'm sure you can feel there's a connection with that and the breath. Back to center and the other direction. Similarly. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Relax the toes. Take deeper breaths, plural. Back to center. Then from here, we're going to walk around and turn around. So the whole body turns. Lift the back heel, step it out even, and then bring it back down. Now, of course, you might need to have your front knee bent for this, and that's absolutely fine. And if you've got blocks nearby, you might even want to put your hands on blocks, and that can work very, very well. Of course, a great yoga practitioner is someone recognizable through various qualities, not least their knowledge and ability and willingness to use props, which we know are attested throughout yoga's history. We're going to move to the other side similarly.
similarly in that we walk the front foot further across the width of the mat, lift the back heel, turn it out, and bring it down again. And again, you might be using blocks, or you might have your front knee bent. What matters is the breath, isn't it? It's always about the breath coming in and out spontaneously and naturally. Back to the center, realign the feet, bring your blocks with you if you need them. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. Lead calmly, press through the heels, lead with the breastbone, press down through the heels and come on up and walk slowly and calmly your feet together. Spread your toes, drop the shoulders. But, you know, again, this it's so important, isn't it? And delightful that yoga is relaxed. It's so important and delightful that yoga is relaxed. So that means you can really let the body, as I mentioned before, drift. It can drift this way, it can drift that way. And that's part of the direct recognition, rather than superimposing with idealism on top of the body experience, actually listening. What is the bias in the body? Let that come up. Then spontaneously, on the basis of listening, response happens. You and I don't have to be in charge of that response. In fact, if we are, it's not yoga because it's karmically driven or self-driven. Raise your arms, breathe through your nose, soften the jaw, melt into it. Sometimes bending one knee, bending the other can be a way of incorporating, bringing together, bringing your arms around, as it were, like bringing your arms around the world. Oh dear, I'm starting to sing that song about Christmas time. Anyway, forget that. Just bring your arms around all your sensations. And yes, arms around the world means embracing everything, embracing what we call prakriti, which means that the direct experience of interdependence and change is the experience that will condition a release, a spontaneous release, and it's only that that can. Bend your ankles, knees, and hips as we did before. Utkatta. Utkatta means to squat, so you can go wherever is comfortable. Some people want to come really low, fingertips to the floor, a half squat, or not so deep is fine too. Again, hands to the floor, and then step or jump. Probably step, but jumping is an option too. Breathe calmly. Balance between inner and outer foot is a refinement similar to tuning in a radio dial. Not too much this way, not too much that way. But you learn how to tune the dial in through tuning it, through moving it a little bit too much that way, then bringing it the other way. It was like tuning a guitar string, very similar. So by going just beyond, going a little sharp and going a little flat, and then a little less sharp next time, and a little less flat next time, eventually you get the perfect note. So we need that freedom to play, to range around, as we sometimes call it in Vajrasati Yoga. Again, we're going to walk around. Again, you can bend your knee if you need to. We're going to walk that front foot further across the width of the mat. We're going to lift the back foot, step it out, turn the back heel out so everything squares up more easily. Don't hold your breath unless you want to, but I'm not recommending it right now because we want a closed fist to become an open palm. That's the kind of vibe we're looking for. Again, as calmly and as happily, and imagining yourself to be just a very, very relaxed sort of creature, very, very happy creature. As you walk your front foot further across the width of the mat, lift the back heel, turn it out, and bring it down again. Of course, as I mentioned before, one can take blocks for the hands, or you can bend the knee. It all depends on how long your legs are, how flexible your hamstring muscles are, how tight your psoas is, how long your arms are. So, you go with how things actually are. Now, from here, step back into your Adho Mukha Svanasana. And I should take off my rather fetching scarf for that. We're going to press the palms into a meditative weave, which takes time, doesn't it? Press the palms into a meditative weave with the yoga mat. Meditative means absorbing. Weave here refers to the blending of the sensations of the palms into the feeling of the mat, or even the blending of the molecules of the palms with the molecules of the mat, which is an intention, and that intention conditions our approach. The way we practice changes, of course, massively according to why we're practicing. You can be padding the heels, I'm sure you probably are already, or moving your pelvis or bending your knees. Those are all allowed. If your wrists are very problematic, you might need to do the next thing on the forearms. But I have to say that even problematic wrists often are helped by these kinds of stretches. Anyway, make sure your hands are wide enough for you to be able to bring the body through. And we come into what's called kumbhakasana. So kumbhaka is an earthenware pot. Kumbhaka just means a pot or a container. So holding your breath can be a kumbhaka. You're sort of containing the breath in or containing the breath out. But here it just refers to a pot, sloping, because some of those pots have those kind of conical bottoms. And obviously I'm not making any comment about your bottom here. When you're ready, lower the knees very, very, very slowly, just to touch. So it should be almost frustrating to touch the floor without landing much weight. Then lifting one knee up, still just touching with the other. Bring that down and raise the other. And we're going to do that. So we've done it 3 times on each leg. So 6 in total. You take whatever time feels appropriate, but do keep calmness about you. As we say in Vajrasati Yoga, calmness conditions connection. Once you've done the 3 on each side, we come into regular kneeling, for which you might want to put a block between the heels and buttocks, and one hand on top of the other for dhyana mudra, and nasal breathing if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Perhaps there's a little rolling. That is to say, rolling on the shins. And the purpose of that rolling is, of course, meditation. So reabsorption. I've given many, many metaphors over time. And because, life has a domestic element to it, I'm very, very familiar with wiping surfaces, wiping spilt stuff. And I tend to use those microfiber cloths, and they've got little holes, tiny little holes that contain and hold gas. And when you move the microfiber cloth across some water that you spilled, the water comes in and the gas comes out. The gas moves to make way for the water. So similarly, the present moment comes in, and what we're holding from the past or ideas about the future comes out as a result. Come onto your forearms when you're ready. Even now, if you like. Let's do it together. Shall we do it together? Come on. On the forearms. Stretch the legs back. Breathe through your nose. Again, a sort of kumbhakasana. This time, definitely on the forearms. Breathing through your nose as you move left and right. And the movements, left, right, forwards, backwards, up and down, are responsive. Responsive. That is, they're responding directly, immediately, with no lag to the way things are. So we know that an aspect of listening is response. You just got to concentrate on getting the signal, the listening faculty, as clear and as crisp as possible, and then the response will be more increasingly appropriate. Okay, knees forwards, legs forwards in front of you. Well done. Take a breath. Let's just go straight to it. Hands behind the head, roll back. Roll back by 60 degrees, raise your toes up, level with the eyes. So they go up by 30. And you breathe through your nose if you can. Sometimes moving your feet can be helpful. We're not trying to flatten the back. We want it rounded. Trembling is normal. Good job. Cross your legs. Draw the butterfly out and back a few times so that you come to the inner front edge of the ischiotuberosities, the sitting bones. And breathing calmly through your nose, drop the shoulders,
Jaw soft, eye soft. A little motion can be comparable to the motion of a cloth as it moves across some spilt water. And as it moves, that jostles the water molecules into the little spaces where the air or the gas was held, and evicts one through the process of bringing in the other. So as the pose comes in, as we allow it to come in through a similar jostling or movement, then we feel a similar shedding in the same way that the cloth drops or is released or releases the gas as the water comes in. We release what we've picked up during the day, during the week, during the month, during the year. And so this is how you cleanse the nerves. This is nadi shodhana. Make a mental note of which leg is in front of which leg. And then extend out your legs when you're ready. And breathe through your nose again. Well done. Lean back by 30 degrees. Raise up by 60. And yes, I do still love you. This is a sort of tough love because, you know, sometimes you need to use a thorn to remove a thorn. So sometimes you've got to really, you know, something's got to go in dynamically because what's held sometimes is held quite tight. So this is Parapurna Navasana. And BKS Iyengar, bless him, says 60 seconds in Parapurna Navasana. But we do what we can. We try to keep, well, we keep calm. We don't try, we keep calm. Okay, get in there. All right, down you come. Take a block, a regular block, flat block that is. You can even have two if you need to. And sit on it with your legs extended out in front of you. Draw the buttock flesh out and back so you come to the inner front edge of the ischial tuberosities. Breathe calmly through your nose, jaw soft, eyes soft, bum settled. So just let's spend a couple of moments settling the bum. Most of us, I think over a course of a day or a week or a month or whatever, we tend to get caught up in this pattern of reaching out, of the, you know, compulsively, next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. So it's called upadana. Upadana translates to fuel, and it's the fuel that makes the cycle of samsara go round and round and round. Samsara is like a cycle of chaos. You don't know where you are at any time, anything can happen, you can end up anywhere. There's no freedom in it, and there's no self in it. When you're ready, bend the leg that's furthest away from me, if you've got a setup similar to mine, otherwise it won't matter. And then lift up your chest by taking your hand around your shin, moving left, moving right, massaging some release into the breath, massaging some release into the brain. A closed fist turning to an open palm. Breath easy and calm, massaging and meditating. And if you're like me, which you are, aren't you? Then I'm sure you could stay like this for a good long while. Because you can use it to shed karmic particles, to drop stuff that's stuck to us. And with that dropping comes a releasing of the breath, comes a shedding of little things that have gone in to the nervous system that are now coming out because the pose is coming in. So I could keep going like that. You could too, I'm sure. So feel free to stay longer if it feels effective. But if you're ready, bring the same hand as the straight leg on the floor behind you. Either keep hold of your bent leg still, or turn the whole body, breathe easy. So this is a version of a Marichasana number 1. Breathing through your nose if you can. Jaw soft. Either the hand can reach for the leg, or the hand can be in Abhaya Mudra. If you do take Abhaya Mudra, as the arm presses into the leg presses into the arm, so that you keep meditating on the balance of the weight on the foot of the bent leg. 2 or 3 or 4 more deep breaths, if you can. Keep that jaw passive. Okay, nice and easy. Come out of the pose. I'm going to move my block so I can still face you, but clearly you don't have to unless you want, unless it suits you too. Draw the buttocks out and back once you've folded back that leg and extended out. And then we're going to obviously fold back the other leg similarly. And as I often say, a great yogin gets more and more from less and less. It means that a highly skilled yoga practitioner doesn't need lots and lots of dynamic poses necessarily. I mean, I like them and they have their place. But they can equally, perhaps even more skillfully, shed stuff in something subtle. So as you feel into this, you start to notice where there is reaching out in the body, where there's the tension associated with upadana, with the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And as time goes by, we gradually settle into this thing. And in so doing, it's like the water going into the cloth, into the microfiber cloth. The little tiny pockets that are made by the fibers that contain gas before that gas is pushed out by the incoming water as you mop it up. That release of that gas is the same as this release of tension, to do with that sense of reaching out. It's sometimes called monkey mind, because the mind's just swinging from one thing to the next and it finds no peace. We know that in yoga we're looking for mental stillness or calmness. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. If you want, you can bring one hand on the floor behind you and either reach for the outside of your leg. You can also use the belt around the foot. It's quite nice. Don't hold the breath. Or the other thing is to press the arm against the leg. But that's great because that gives you an opportunity to look for the balance on your foot, between inner and outer foot. So keep the jaw passive. Keep that investigating that balance on the bent leg foot, particularly if you're pressing into it. Relax the jaw, relax the eyes, relax the brain. Okay. Once you understand the principle of something coming in, conditioning, release out, purifying the nerves, then each pose becomes a kaliko dhamma, a place without time. You become kalena navajedat, unaffected by time. Let's release nice and easy when we're ready. And we are going to squat with our heels up on our block. And I know some of you can squat without a block, but it makes life a little easier to have a block there. And we're just going to spend a breath or two. Wrap your arms, if you can, around your legs. The legs don't have to be together. They can be apart, but they can be together as well if you prefer. And spend a breath or two concentrating on the release of the tailbone, which can be identified by observing any release of the breath whilst you're aware of your tailbone. So jaw soft, eyes soft, breathing deep, rocking. That intimates the movement of the microfiber cloth, which helps to jostle the pose in. With the cloth, it helps to jostle the water in to the little spaces. I've done there's another metaphor, of course, of tuning in a radio station. In tuning into one, you tune out of the other. So, there's a shedding. We're looking for this shedding. Now, if you're comfortable enough, and by the way, I should add, if this is difficult for your knees, you can actually sit on blocks rather than having the heels on blocks and do exactly the same pose after that. But either way, sitting on blocks or with the heels on blocks, we're going to turn and bring our arm onto the outside of the leg. Now I'm using my other arm to push, lift, and turn my tummy gently, multiple times. This is Parshasana. You can bring the hands to prayer if you want. That's an option. So it's a version of Parshasana. A Parsha is a noose. And in the classical pose, or the modern postural classical pose, the arms are wrapped right around both legs and clasped behind us. But that requires skinny legs and long arms, which you might have, but you might not. Okay, release back to center if you're ready to. And obviously, we're going to do the same the other way. I'm going to turn around, but you don't have to. I'm just turning around so I can still see you. Parshasana. This can be done, of course, against a wall as well, which is really nice. So again, the other hand, the one that's not hooking, can push down, lift, and turn. And eventually, the hands might come into this prayer position. Breathing through the nose, if possible. Good job. Okay, calmly release. Take your block away and come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog. Really pad your palms into this merging, or as it's called in Sanskrit, this laya, L-A-Y-A, which can mean to melt, to merge, to absorb. So this merging of your palms with the mat is a process that will cause the dropping off of karmic particles, that which has been held. For reasons that we've been talking about. So the more you let this in, the more you go into it, the more it will trigger release. You'll come out of this profoundly fresh. That's what I love about yoga. Stuff that sticks to us, stuff that we get bothered by, stuff that we don't know what to do about. We think, I've got to solve it. It just sheds. It just sheds when you get into this, really into it. Stretching it up is useful. Up through the armpits, up through the ribs, up to the groins. And the more you stretch up, the more you can release down. And those two things are very much related. The up is related to the down that is of the head. Head down dog, isn't it? But the head is not down because of collapse, it's down because of lift, because of uplift. Wonderful pose. We'll come down, come to one end of the mat and fold it. You can fold it triple ply, but I'm quite lucky. This mat is quite a thick mat, so I don't need to fold it triple ply. And then if you've got a cork block, that would be the ideal scenario for your foot to come onto. And if you happen to be really well off,
You might even have 2 cork bricks, as I've got here. Sorry about that. Just moving some weights that I was using earlier in yoga. So you might just have 1 cork brick. You might have none. You might have 2 of these bricks. That will work. If you've got 2 cork bricks or brick-shaped bricks, they don't have to be made of cork, then one goes to one side and the other's for your hand. And you can just do the same format if they're the regular flat blocks. That works as well. We're going to extend our leg out. The standing leg is left sloping just a bit. So the standing leg should slope at the top towards the foot of the extended leg. That's important. It's very important. That allows the pelvis to turn. The other important alignments include heel lines up with the knee. Got it? And the block cuts in where the ball of the foot meets the arches. So you're not in the middle of your foot arch. You're not in the middle of the ball of the foot. You're not clinging on by your toes, but the point where the ball of the foot meets the foot arches. The knee faces up. You've got your other block. It might be a flat block, or it might be a brick block. And that goes down on the little toe side, any height, and you raise up your other arm. So it's like a little tiny trikonasana. Of course, it's parigasana. What makes it yoga is our willingness for the tight fist to become the open palm. Keep the jaw soft, keep the eyes soft, keep the brain soft, keep the tongue soft. Shoulder blade on the bottom arm pulls down towards a point beyond where the elbow bends, down to a little prominence on the ulna called the olecranon process. And then if you can get that pulling down, that will pull the body round. Really enjoyable. Some people will even like to stretch the top arm over. That's fine if you want to. Some people like to lift the heel of the front leg. That's fine if you want to. Adjust in any way that works. Come on up calmly. Well done. Don't rush. Well done. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. Of course, so we're going to fold over the mat on the other side. And similarly, and of course, I'm guessing most people have blocks, but you might not. You can use lots of different things. You know, during the old days when we first started Zooming, then I was using the Kilner jars that you can't see, but I'm looking at over there that we store tea in here. Anyway, so you've got a block ready for your foot, and you've got a block ready for your hand. Remember, it doesn't have to be a brick block, but if you've got a brick block, they might be slightly preferable. Extend out in your own time. Knee and heel line up. The other thing is that the standing leg slopes a little, just a little, so that the top of the thigh is a bit closer to the foot than the bottom of the thigh. And the block cuts in where the ball of the foot and the foot arches meet. Having taken care of all that, you take your block, inhale, exhale, bring it down to whatever height, and bring those bottom ribs forwards and top arm up. And start to let out. So, you know, we've talked about this, something going in, causing something to go out, but you've got to let it out, right? It comes to the door, it wants to exit, but you let it out through the breath. You're letting out whatever got stuck to us, you know? And it's not about it being good or bad. It's just about accumulation. That's all. Whatever got stuck to us, because the human mind is most powerful when it's open. And you can stretch up, can stretch over if you want. Definitely don't hold the breath. Let that be expressive. You might, some people like to lift the heel of the extended leg. And then you might lift it and bring it down. You know, lots of ways you can play. Light tone on the tummy, draws in and pulls up.
Jaw stays passive. And then that long head of the tricep, we engage that by bending the bottom elbow. And without holding the breath, in a very relaxed mode, we re-straighten the arm, feeling a pull down from the shoulder blade to that point below where the elbow bends, the olecranon process. And that takes meditation to focus on it. You know, it's sort of fascinating timelessness that gets us out of this perpetual and exhausting reaching out modality. So sort of societal ADHD, you know. Inhale, come on up, and come on up when you're ready. Well done, everybody. Open up your mat in your own time. Bring yourself up to standing. Keep hold of a brick block, please. Step your feet into a generous stride. Keep hold of your brick block. Take 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Balance as a point of fascination, as a point of embarkation for stepping off into the richness of now, instead of the perpetual, exhausting vritti, chitta vritti, this mind completely whirling around, sometimes called chitta vikshepas, meaning the mind that is scattered. So the way you bring it out of scattering is to start being really interested in the timeless adjustments of your feet. Okay. So I'm adjusting my feet so I feel beautiful endlessness on a focus on the balance. It's beautiful. When you're ready, turn the front foot, let's say the right foot, on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. Turn the back toes in. And then from there, bend your front knee but stretch into your back leg. Take your brick block down to any height you like on the big toe side of your foot and bring the bottom ribs forwards. Breathe through your nose without holding your breath. Lift your back heel up. Internally rotate your leg and bring your knee down. Bring your bottom ribs forwards and investigate movements that cause the release, the shedding of carbonic particles. Remember, we want to be open-handed. We want to be empty. That's the understanding yogis have. And it's quite a different understanding to the one that we're taught, that society teaches us that accumulation, gain is what makes us powerful. But you can see that even the people who have the most accumulation of wealth and power still are hungry. They're still pretas, hungry ghosts. Stretching up and over if you want. Studying the moment-to-momentness of the whole experience. The moment-to-momentness. Okay, when you come up real calm, arm down first, and deliberately, hand on your leg, use your block to help you come up without haste. And calmly back to center. Feet face forwards, block in front of you. Let's hear some deep breaths from everybody. Let's allow ourselves to really, let that closed fist become an open palm. So this expressive breath, natural breath, this emptiness, this shunyata that is the source of the yogi's power. She is empty, and therefore Shakti comes through her. In Zen, they say, you can't put anything into a cup that's already full. What we want to put in is the present moment, because when the present comes in, spontaneously we respond. The response we don't have to worry about, but the receiving we've got to work on. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel when you're ready. Breathe through your nose if you can. Bend your front knee and bring your brick down. Big toe side, any height. Bottom ribs forwards, calm as you can. Breathing through your nose. Optionally, raising up and playing with that. So this, of course, is Parsva Konasana. And then this really nice variation. So I suggest bringing your arm down to come down. Lift the back heel, twist the leg inwardly, bring the knee down slowly to the floor. And then stay as you are or investigate other movements like toning the tummy, stretching up, stretching over. Breathing without holding the breath. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Okay, jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Very meditative. Calmly, if you're ready, arm down. Use your brick with your other hand to push. Then the hand that's now spare comes onto your thigh. And you should be able to push yourself up. Leave the brick once you're up and come up all the way. Feet face forwards. Walk your feet towards each other. Breathe deeply through your nose and shake it off. Kick it out. Shake it off. Back to Tadasana. The mountain, the Tada. So the Tada is the mountain. And of course, we can think about images such as the broad base at the bottom of the mountain and the high peak of the top. And so the high peak is that transcendent quality that is conditioned through really the very broad base of full awareness of all of this, of Prakriti. So I could spend ages, you're probably the same, right? Just feeling into the feet as a meditation. I'm stretching, maybe you're doing it too. Stretching the feet, stretching the balls of the feet, landing them, re-landing them multiple times as a meditation. And eventually you'll get strong enough in terms of holistic contact with the floor that you'll be able to raise one heel of one foot up. Doesn't matter which one you choose. We're obviously going to do both. And then we continue to raise the leg in our own time. And then we've got options. Hold the shin is option one. The focus is on the groin, opening up the groin of the standing leg as a meditation. Option two is reaching for the big toe. Option three is hand on the hip and extending the leg. And they're options. They're not. These are not. I'm not saying these as progressive. No? They're just options. The progress we want is the progress into absorption, here and now. Absorption. So this is Uttita Hasta Padangushtasana. Nice and calm, wherever you came to. Bring the leg down in a calm way. Take a deep breath, because I bet you are holding it a bit, so let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Shake out if you want. And then feet close all together. Arms by your sides. Buoyant chest. Like the whole rib cage, sort of like it's floating. You know, it's sort of inevitably buoyant. When you're ready, raise your other heel, similarly. And we've got our options. One, to hold the shin. We're focusing on the groin, the inner groin and the front groin, spaciousness as our meditation. Option number two is to reach through the inner leg and hold the big toe with a hand on the hip. Option three is to extend that leg. This Uttita Hasta Padangushtasana Ekam. Number one. Breathe, if you can, through your nose. Focus on the inner groin and the front groin as a meditation. Into lift, into space, into expansion as a meditation. Okay, calmly, calmly, bring it down. Shake off, shake off. We're going to use our brick block again. So make sure you've got your brick block nearby. And we're going to step our feet apart. Sorry, I'm just doing a time check because I have no idea what time it is. Holy gosh, I thought I was having fun and time was going quick. We're not at the end, but I'm glad I checked the time. So stepping the feet apart, we're going to come into Ardha Chandrasana. I'll not beat about the bush. We're going to turn the left toes in, right foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel, and raise up your brick when you're ready. Personally, I quite like to let the weight of the block, and these are cork, they're not heavy, but it still has weight, it still is reaching for the floor. The weight of the block to be felt, to rest in my hand, and the selflessness of the resistance of that weight. I like to notice that it's selfless. It's not something that a person is doing. It's just a function of every force has an equal and opposite force, you know. So it's resisting. Okay, come down to your Trikonasana. Take your time. Raise your top arm. Obviously, you can have the block any height you want. Please take deeper breaths when you want to. Let yourself take a really deep interest in the alignment, starting with your feet. We're not looking to do something for someone else to tick off on their clipboard as right rather than wrong. We're looking to discover Ananta at the endless. Because the endless has an effect on us. When something finite meets something that's infinite, that which is finite is rendered to zero. In other words, this separate particle that we call me, myself, and I becomes reabsorbed, disappears, and then we're empty, then we're karma-less. Arm down, as promised, it's Ardha Chandrasana. So, walk your back foot towards your front foot, bring your block ahead, aligned with your 4 outer toes and at least the length of the block ahead. Any height, you've got different height options for your block, different direction options, and come up calmly when you're ready into your Ardha Chandrasana. Of course, you can use a chair in front of you, the back of the chair facing you. That can help very much with balance. You can also do this with your foot against the wall. That can also help with balance, or even with your back against the wall. Breathing natural. Let's get some intelligent tone spreading through the front thigh of the standing leg. Intelligent tone spreading through the front thigh of the standing leg. Okay, good job, Benjani. Come back through the air as if the air were a bit thicker. Back through to your Trikonasana. Make it a good one. Keep breathing deep. Inhale calmly. Come on up. Back toes in. Front foot and leg out. We're going the other direction, of course. So when you're ready, raise your brick up in the air. Exhaling, coming down to your Trikonasana. Don't hold the breath. Let it go, let it go. Engaging with the endless, the Ananta. It's exactly what the Yoga Sutras tell us to do in regard when they're talking about Yogasana. So we should be pleased when we discover that balancing between inner and outer heel on the front and back leg is a process of beautiful refinement. And even if that feels like you get to a refined balance, then there's other relationships to balance. Between the front and back leg, is there equality between the inner and outer leg? Are you as aware of your inner leg as your outer as your inner? The drawing up of one side is the lengthening of the other. Drawing up on the outer leg is the lengthening of the inner. Arm down, bend your knee,
Walk your back foot towards your front foot. Take your block ahead, about the length of the block, any height. You've got 3 height options plus a directional option. And then into your Ardha Chandra, a half moon. I think it may be a full moon tonight, or was it last night? Here, if you're watching this live, I guess I don't put all the classes up on YouTube, but some of them I do. I might put this one, might not, I don't know. Anyway, the point is breath. The breath. Bottom ribs forwards, pulling down on the long head of the tricep and distributing intelligence through the standing leg, through the front thigh, spreading it through the front thigh. Okay, calmly. Move through the air as if it were thicker than it really is. Back to your Trikonasana. It's a really good job. Take some deeper breaths. Inhale, very calm. Come on up. Well done. Same block, going under the bum once we sit down. So sitting down when you're ready in Siddhasana, if you can. So a Siddha is an adept. And in Siddhasana, we're just going to look at cleansing the Ida and Pingala channels a little bit with a Nadi Shodhana, which indicates cleansing the channels. So to do that, we're going to use our digits, our fingers. And we want to make sure our chest is up, our spine is up, our shoulder blades are down, and the head is down. When you bring the head down, don't bring the shoulder blades up. You're taking your you're taking your ring finger and little finger and thumb to make a pincer. I like to fold the other 2 fingers under, but some people like to keep them extended. That's fine either way. And that goes onto the nose without pulling the head to the left or the right. So just briefly before we start, we're going to be breathing in, breathing out, blasting out any what's called tidal air. And then our first inhalation will be taken through partially closed left nostrils. We'll close the left once we breathed in and partially open the right and breathe out through that, partially open. The one we just breathed out of is the one we breathe back in through. And the one we breathed in through is the opposite to the one we breathe out of. And we keep that pattern going, breathing in through one, breathing out through the other, breathing in through one. So when you're ready, you can begin with a deep breath in and out through open nostrils. And closing the right, breathing in through the partially open left. And closing off the left, breathing out through the partially open right. Back in through the right when you're ready. And back out through the left. And so on, breathing in through the one you just breathed out of. And breathing out of the opposite one that you breathed in through. Exhale is through the opposite nostrils to the one you breathed in through. Perhaps you can visualize the channels going right the way down to the pelvic floor. Breathing down to the pelvic floor and then back up from the pelvic floor through to the nostril as you breathe out. So you're cleansing the channels. Down to the pelvic floor. On the inhales, close the nostril, breathe out from the pelvic floor through the nostril. Couple more rounds after the one you're on.
And the last round will be an in-breath through the left and an out-breath through the right, whenever that comes up. One Om through the central channel, starting at the pelvic floor and pushing it all the way up through the crown of the head. So let's do that together. Breathe deep to the pelvic floor. Om. The only way out of reactivity and compulsion is to be in the center, in the calm middle between all of the polarities that we might be reaching out for. The center is the place of peace. And the center is a place of stillness, of rest. And so as we come into our resting pose, Shavasana, we'll keep our focus, as we're instructed in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, on the central channel, on, in fact, the vacuity, the spaciousness, the emptiness in the central channel. It's empty of any polarity. So laying yourself down when you feel ready, palms will face up and shoulder blades will be scooted under. And we're going to do this little Laya Yoga practice from the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra. So once you've laid yourself down with care, and then we focus on this non-binary center, this space that's neither one thing nor another. The central channel. It's the still point. It's peace and it's refreshment. And it's the place of ultimate potential. It's where we want to make our home, what we want to get used to, how it feels, and rest there as often as we can, if not always. can, of course, lay as long as you wish. When you feel ready, that might be in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Then you, from that emptiness, from that center point, from that vidya, from that rigpa, as Tibetans call it, we take investigative movements into the body, like wiggling the toes and the fingers, and taking a variety of stretches until we feel ready to bend the legs, after which we'll roll first to one side for a while and then to the other. And as I say, that might not be now. It might be in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then once one has rolled onto both sides, we would come up from the side. But from wherever you are, whether you're laying or whether you're coming to sit, we'll end our collective, formally collective. We're still always collective. We're still always together. We'll end our formally collective our practice with the transference of merit from the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Huge appreciation. Marvelous to see you. Thanks so much for coming. If you want to come to Morocco in 2 weeks, I've just been told there are still 2 spaces left for our Morocco trip. So that's amazing. And the flights are still really cheap as well. Otherwise, you might want to come on my immersion in May this year. Anyway, love you all. All that stuff's on the Vajrasattva website. Love and peace. Stay happy and peaceful and well. And thanks for everything. Bye, guys. Love you.